Big Rigs Over the Road Racing is a racing video game developed by Stellarstone and published by Game Mills Publishing, released for Microsoft Windows on November 20th, 2003. As we go inside the game, we'll immediately notice that in the settings we can just set things to, most of the things at least, to normal or low and the others to high. But I can assure you that it doesn't improve too much in terms of gameplay or graphics or anything really with this broken piece of junk. Now while you're selecting your trucks, you'll notice you have 4 trucks, 2 of them obviously having cargo and 1 of them not. Now one of them, while illustrated to be having any kind of cargo, you will find out that it really doesn't. It just has like an empty part in the back where cargo could be attached to. We have 5 different maps, which is very generous considering that on the back of the cover I noticed only there to be 4 maps promised. But we have 5, and if we take a look at the cover, we're going to notice immediately that a lot of things are promised here which we will later find out are not in the game. Things like police cars. Obviously this was supposed to be more or less some kind of a illegal cargo that we're transporting. We're running from the police as they're trying to stop us, fighting maybe against the clock. They don't mention this, but that's how I imagine it. And they say you'll be racing against an opponent. That guy next to me, that's the opponent. But as you will notice, he isn't really moving at all because the game doesn't have any kind of working AI. You see the ground is clipping through everything. Pretty much absolutely awesome in a way how unfinished this game is. And if you pay attention, you'll hear there's music, but if you really listen, you will notice that there's nothing else besides the music. That's right, it doesn't have any kind of special effects, or any effects for that matter, even less special ones. There's also no collision detection, so your truck can cross and pass through pretty much everything in its way without having to worry about being stopped or even slowed down for that matter. Also with this track particularly, it's not that noticeable, but with other tracks you'll notice that the lights at the back of the truck seem to be inside the model rather than at the end of it, and that really is the least of its problems. So if you decide to go backwards, you will quickly notice that your truck is significantly faster. Not only does it accelerate really fast, but it also likes to go on and gain speed until all of eternity. This is pretty interesting because you can make it so fast that controlling it is impossible, because also turning and everything will be defined by how fast the vehicle is moving. So yeah, it gets really crazy fast. It can go as fast as you want it to go. They just didn't pay attention to that either. Funny enough, if you release the backwards button, it suddenly stops. Now if you want to exit the game, you have return to race and quit to Windows, but once you select quit to Windows, you will end up into the game menu, so it doesn't really quit to Windows as promised. Also, I want to show you how the music just stops at some point, because it doesn't loop anymore, and as soon as it stopped, it's quiet. Now if you actually manage to play a race until the bitter end, you're going to see the great writing, "You're a winner." And the funny thing is, if you decide that you want to play another race after that, the game will be stuck in this perpetual winning mode. It will glitch out totally in most cases, but in pretty much any case, it will just stick to you being the winner. In broken English, you're a winner yet again. You don't need to play anymore. 1 map's enough for this game to know that you are so good that you can never be defeated. Now the funny thing is, I managed to find a patch online now, and as you can see, we have an AI opponent here. Things have changed quite significantly. One of the maps was actually glitchy, and what they did is straight out reverse it and make it a different map. They took the first map, reversed it, so you're driving that first map in reverse now. It's still a 5 map game, but one of the maps is basically the first one split all around. And I would like to apologize also for the screen ratio, but unfortunately this is the best this game can run. Now I really wanted to give this guy a chance. I was curious if he's going to put up any kind of a race, but if you pay attention to him, he is kind of driving on rails, and he's very weird and unpredictable. He will sometimes get really fast and really slow, and even if you let him win us here, he will just stop in front of the finish line. So whatever you do, you're a winner and it cannot be stopped. So even after the update, you'll notice that there's no police chasing you. Your opponent's not really having any proper AI, you're just driving on rails, and since there's no collision detection, nothing can stop you from doing anything. The reverse super speed trick also works, and I was actually very curious about that, so I decided to conduct an experiment and just see how fast it can really go. I actually read on the internet a guy saying that if you do this long enough, but unfortunately he didn't specify, your speed will increase to such an extent that the game will bug out, recognize all checkpoints as driven through, and it will just declare you to be the winner again, in broken English of course. And as you can see, after some times we already see some glitches. My truck's clipping through nothing, it's going all crazy. I've waited some more. At 7 minutes, we're going to notice a slight change in the sound. It's not as loud now and annoying, but it is still very weird. The tires are going crazy as well. And as we go on and go on, I actually did this for very long. I sat there, held the backwards button, and you will notice that 2 checkpoints have already been checked out. And the reason for that is, I would assume, simply because the truck becomes so fast that it starts circling around like crazy, and just by a random chance it passed 2 checkpoints. Other than that, as you can see, not much is changing. The sounds change a little bit, the numbers go out of the given space for them, but the truck gets faster and faster, and the game is about to break down completely. I was hoping that at this point I would simply win the game, but as you can see, I still haven't. It's still going strong, so I was pretty disappointed to find that out. And here we see that these little numbers, which became visible in the patch, now all zeroed out, so that gives me reason to believe that this is pretty much where the game is stuck and it's not going to change anymore. And as I went closer and closer to the 30-minute mark, that was where I decided to stop, because nothing was happening. So is this the worst game of all times? Yes, it definitely is. Now, I would even argue that it's not a real game to begin with, because if we look at it, it doesn't have any kind of AI before the patch, and after the patch I would say it still doesn't, because the enemy truck is just driving like on rails, always at the same speed, always through the same path, and it can't even reach the finish line if you let it. So no, there's no AI at any point. There are no effects in the game unless you patch it, where you hear a little bit of noise coming from your truck. Your truck can clip through anything. Your truck can climb 90-degree slopes without even slowing down. Your truck is fucking crazy. If you go backwards, you break the sound barrier in seconds, and then you reach the speed of light. You cross to everything and all kinds of crazy shit starts happening. And if you release the backwards button, the truck, no matter at what speed, stops instantly without any issues. All in all, it's just really ridiculous. Nothing of that was promised was delivered here, and I believe I know why. Greed. The company that was responsible for this game actually decided to outsource it to a Ukrainian studio simply because they offered to do it for a fifth of the normal price which any other company would have demanded for it. So they did that, and if you pay attention to the release date, 20th November of 2003, you'll notice that that is right before Christmas, so you can be pretty certain that they were forced to release even though the game was not ready. But I do believe there were plans to actually make it ready. If you pay attention to the Ultra nav to the top left, you will notice that this device up there, which now counts your checkpoints, actually looks a lot like the devices in the 90s used to detect if there are police cars around you. You'll see these also in games like Need for Speed, for example. So police was definitely supposed to be in here, but the time just wasn't enough. Also, the sheer fact that this game is actually only half of what it was supposed to be in terms of content too. You see, not only are things like police cars missing, this was supposed to be a bigger game with a different name, but it was divided in 2 different games. This one and another one with sports cars, and I can tell you that the other one's no better than this. And so, as you can see, greed is the name of the game here. These people made a lot of mistakes, and that's sad because I kind of find the music catchy. The graphics are absolutely okay for 2003. If they had enough time, they might have produced a game which might have been fun to play. I'm not saying a Need for Speed competitor, but still fun, you know, for a cheap game. Why not? Well, that's pretty much all I have to say about this game. You should definitely try it. It's funny, and thanks for watching.